Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster daily trade recaps and daily teachings. Sorry for a late video today, but just wanted to get it out today's video as well because after craziness yesterday, today was it was choppy, although we knew it's a choppy. So I really want to talk about it, how we identify the choppiness and how we managed it. And we had a couple of losses to start the day. It was a red start, but by end of the day we were able to turn it green. But the important thing I want to discuss today, there's a lot to learn, is that on a day like today you cannot afford to lose more than you made in last 3 days. So that's what I was looking at. Some traders, trades were not working, we are in choppiness, getting frustrated, doing some revenge trading, which is not always good. We don't have to make money every day, we can sit on our hands. And also with a few examples I'll discuss, where you losers you cut right away. You cut right away. You know how to trade. When you trade the open, there's a different strategy. You trade the trends, this is a different strategy. So we'll discuss about it. I do want to focus today on our SPX, SPY and QQQ guidance and trade management, the chop in the morning, and then the reversal in the afternoon. How the reversal, we got the reversal. I'll show you the time-stamped updates that I did. Then we'll talk about our Boeing losing trade. I could have shorted it, we'll discuss that. Then Micron, which ended up working by end of the day. That's an interesting trade there. Then we'll talk about AMD and Tesla, which were showing some relative strength, and we'll see how that worked out. So there were definitely some other plays we missed in the market today because there was not definitely a low volume day. So anybody new, just to recap, this is my daily recap, my time-stamped guidance and teachings. We do it that I'm live in the community, I'm on the voice in first 2 hours, and then all day guidance, and I wake up 45 minutes before the market opens. I make a watch list for everyone, I make a level sheet. Here's the level sheet. You can take this sheet, pause the screen, timestamp it, and figure out how it worked out. Specifically today for Apple, the support pivot really worked out very nicely. When it broke under the support pivot, it faded, and also our VIX and SPY strategy worked out pretty nicely, which I want to discuss today with the break of 14, the reversals, my plan in the morning. So I'm going to discuss all that, but these are the levels. I even give the VIX levels. Even yesterday the VIX levels were given so that you could play the sell-off. And we go through all the morning news. So I go through all the morning news, pre-market movers. I provide that every day in the community, and we do have all the scanners running all day, option flow and stock scanners, news bots. So we are on top of everything. So when we look at analyst upgrades, these are the pre-market movers, the news I have, and a lot of other things. So let's start. First of all, I want to start with SPY QQQ morning guidance and the chop. Alright, so let's now look at the morning action on SPY. So I'm going to remove these channels. I'll bring them back later. So I just want to show you what was happening in the morning. So we had a big sell-off, then a gap up. So we were in middle of yesterday's highs and lows, right? So there were no clear levels that we could break out from yesterday highs and lows. So it was a very tight action. And I said, how do we confirm the bullishness? We confirm the bullishness in few things. Let me show you what I said here. Read here. VIX pre-market highs never broke out. You see right here in the morning. As soon as I saw this, I was on the voice. I was telling everyone that I don't have a good feeling for the long. Market looks tired, and this move, this first drop in the morning, that's what we shorted. That's where we made some money on our puts. But after that move happened, the market just went into this range, tight range. It broke down, back in the range, broke down, back in the range. Then it broke the range one time, right? I was not interested, I was away, but you can see when this range breaks, right? You see this range or you can move it to the pre-market lows, and you can see the how it flushes, right? This was a good trade for the short side. Anybody short on the puts on SPX or QQQ, but again, it was still a choppy action. Then there was a buyer here at this level at 469. I even tweeted about it, and they cleared the buy and the swipe back up. So anyways, so our morning trade was this short. It was like a C minus short. So this was our morning trade, this short you see. So let me show you. Let's see. So we want to see that when we were short on that morning. So let's go back. So the idea that I gave in the morning was simple. The idea was if VIX is over 13.50, then it's a bearish bias. If VIX breaks 14, it's even higher bearish bias. And that's what happened. If you go by my plan this morning, if I show you here that if VIX stays under 1350, market will be bullish. If it pushes over 1350, the market will be bearish. Over 14, more bearish. If you think about that, let's say you came into my market, you took a short because of my guidance, and you held, and then you covered here until it hit over 14, you did good, right? So that my guidance was spot on based upon SPY and VIX strategy. You can read more SPY VIX strategy on my free website. I will put a link here as well. So you see that VIX continued to ramp up, and market, even though choppy, continued to ramp down. Anywhere we were shorting, our risk was always high of the day. Our trade, my trade personally, was this fade. You see this fade from 472 to 470.62, and then it swiped back, and then I took profits. I was out because then we were in chop. So this was the chop range. So that's where you are not making any money, because these are tiny candles, up, down, up, down, up, down. And if you are in 0-day option short, you're burning the theta. And even if you're short here, with for your risk is always high of the day. So this was our morning trade, this one that I'm showing you. So that was our morning trade. As you can see, I told everyone to stay short, and I was talking about the short. And let's see. So you can see here, like, a lot of community was short in the morning. That move that I just showed you was the short move. It was the morning short move. And it was 10 a.m. so you had to take the profits. If you see here, everybody was short, and that my short idea, people were doing these trades. So very proud of those, very proud of those. But after these trades, we were back into the chop. So just wanted to talk about this morning SPY short now, and the chop management. You don't lose this chop. You don't keep trying like short long. You do not do that, otherwise you will wipe off everything you made last few days. When there is no move higher or lower after 10 a.m, you step away. You had your 10 a.m trade, right? The first trade you had, the into 10 a.m 10:10, that's it. Then you wait, you step away. Yes, many people were short, and they faded this. That's fine. If you're an experienced trader, you are using next weekly or monthly short options, this kind of worked out for you, right? So but otherwise you get chopped. There's no reason to go full size and just hoping that we flush, because we never break the pre-market lows. When we broke the pre-market lows, we flushed, right? But it was not a clean action. Then again, you see the buyer here buying, and then flush, and then swipe back. Then you would have to be fast. If you were short riding this 512 EMA cloud, you should have been fast to cover your shorts. So this action today in the morning was not the best, so anyways, just this was our short win in the morning, which was actually made us green with our other losers in the morning. So now I'm going to discuss about the end of the day reversal. So as you see, there was all day my guidance on the market. All day I was talking about these, there's a buyer, this breakdown, and the bidder trying to hold, and we were watching all that. We were, one second here. So right, and then we saw this when this swipe came on the market, and then it went over the 512 EMA clouds. That's when I sent the alert. Then market is turning over the clouds. And what does my VIX say? My VIX was fading under the 14. It rejected 1450 and it was fading under the 14. That's when I sent these updates. And not only that, VIX and Apple. So VIX and Apple. So Apple bounce, it will bounce the market. It's as simple as that. And the VIX was rejecting 14, and you can see VIX was rejecting 14, and that was the signal that reversal is coming, and we are on the top of it. I was continuously sending the alerts about the reversal in the alerts tab, and my price alert APIs were continuously sending us this alert. So this first reversal, so this was the first reversal. This is the 512 EMA cloud reversal. Then came the channel reversal. I posted this channel reversal. I also posted it on Twitter. So you see, then came the channel reversal. This is the before, you can see, and this is the after. This is the before and this is the after. You can see, you know, all little cup and handle type of move here. Bullish over 30, little flag, and then more bullish, right? And the ideas, I gave few reversal ideas there. I gave you know, which we can maybe we can discuss later, but also let's see. So I gave few ideas on the Tesla. You know, the Tesla was here, it pushed little $1 with the market, and you know, MU pushed with the market, Nvidia pushed with the market. So my point is that we were on top of the market. You know, look at the price alerts here. So let me show you VIX. So VIX is breaking down. QQQ is bullish. SPY is crossing 3450. You know, SPY is crossing the key level. Tesla breaking out. QQQ crossing a key level. SPY breaking the range. So look at these price alerts, guys. And that's how you trade. Of course, you know, you trade it in the open if you shorted well, but if you wait for the reversal. So this was a reversal setup, and all the guidance was there, right there. And you know, it's a simple SPY VIX strategy. If you followed my SPY VIX strategy, you didn't have to do anything else. These patterns work. There was a reason I posted this downtrend channel. And it broke out, you see right in front of you. It's all about executing it. This reversal actually made the day nice green for everybody. Micron worked, other kind of bounces worked. So you know, because otherwise the day was very choppy, there was not much. But what I want you guys to learn here is that everything is systematic, right? We were shorting, we identified the chop, systematic. We shorted in the morning, systematic, based upon our VIX strategy, high lows and all that. And then we longed it based upon our VIX strategy, our EMA cloud, and then you know, the pattern, the channel breakout. So all these things come together to give you some kind of systematic rule. If you are long on this reversal, EMA cloud rules are, you know, very defined. You long at 512, put your stops under the low of the last candles or where the last buyer was, and then you can add into the breakout over 3450. So simple systematic reversal. So that's what I wanted to teach, guys. Very important today, how we manage the morning short. We won the morning short, covered our shorts, sat aside on the chop. In the morning chop there was nothing, of course. So yes, so that was very important, guys. The lessons on this SPY and QQQ, the management, the VIX strategy. It's easier. It's very important to understand what the system is telling you, right? In the morning there was no confirmed uptrend because of the reasons I told you, and then there was no confirmed bearish trend, right? I wanted to see a bearish trend right open. Yes, this bearish trend came, but it was not a convincing, you know, unless you positioned yourself with the stops at high of the day, and then the reversal. So so hopefully this helped understand how we trade SPY, QQQ, and how to do it systematically and not just lose money trying to trade every downtick, uptick, right? The risk levels are defined: pre-market highs, pre-market lows, highs of the day, lows of the day, reversal on 512 EMA clouds. Hopefully that helped. So let's talk about our morning loss on BA. The reason I took this BA trade was due to this 1 hour breakout, right? You can see on the 1 hour charts this breakout. There was some news on Boeing. So there was some news on Boeing. It was breaking the pivot. So you can see this pivot that's breaking out on Boeing, right? So that's why I did. And I always long starter. Those who know that amateur moves are risky. And of course, most of my old students on my community, old members know how we trade at open. You know, I have done a special webinar on how to trade at open. So I longed it, you know, we were longing into the push and just a starter size. But as soon as I saw this candle, you know, I was out. I was just out in first 4 minutes. I didn't need to wait, right? I just took my dollar loss, $1.50, and I was out. And only thing I could have done was shorted it, which I did not. As E minus short that turned into B plus short, because look at these rejections. This area, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you see that the reason, because I knew this could happen when the resistance is rejected, you know, the things can fall back pretty violently, right? So you see this, right? So this is important too. And if it worked, if it broke out, it would have been good long. But you just cut and move on. You don't have time. Oh, I lost, you know, you just move on. That's why you need your own conviction. You know, I shared the idea, I got out. And if you got in with me and you were just thinking, no, I cannot take a loss, maybe it works, then you lost a lot of money. And even if you didn't cut the 3450 break, then you even lost a lot of money. So the point I'm trying to show here is losers happen, but keep them small and move on. The setups, when doesn't work, that doesn't work, right? So right here, that's very important. All right, let's talk about MU. So MU, what was the plan? Let's go back to the plan. Let's forget what I was guiding all day, but let's look at the levels and my plan. So my plan was simple. Support level 82.80. You can read here. Support levels 82.80. Bullish over that. Gap fill under that. So what was my level? Let's draw a line. 82.80. It was right here. Right? So that was my risk level. So if you see all day our risk level held all day. Closer to risk you add, better your entry. I always say. And of course, we were trying to trade the morning trade. We were trying to do the morning amateur move. So I added a starter. Let's go on 3-minute chart so you guys can look better. So I added a starter, hoping that I get the amateur move, very small size. And then when it pulled back, I added little more because yeah, my risk was, I was going to add as long as 83 held. I was going to add because that was my level. And yes, somebody who did not add at the open, who waited for the pullback, did much better than me if you added here. But I added a starter because I want to be part of any big push there. It pulled back, I added there. As you see, I said I will add into the position versus the EMA Clouds. And then it came back, right? It came right back at 85. Some people were already green on MU by that time. They got the dip, they were out. When I saw this resistance on 85, I stepped away because I knew market was acting up. Then I stepped away. You know, I barely like a break even or a little scratch because my average was still little higher because I could not average really low. So my average was still little lower. So it was kind of a little loss for me here. But I stepped away because I knew it can dip back with the market. You can see 85 resistance, 85 not breaking. You can see my live guidance here. I explained everything, that it's still over the risk levels. I said I personally wanted a breakout trade. If market, I said that if market pushes, it can push back to 85. I explained that. Sitting on the hands for now, and remember I said closer to the risk you add, better the trade. And then it started to break the cloud, but it was still over 83, 80 support. I was just doing my guidance. And then later in the day, it came back over the clouds. That's when I added again, and that's when I saw this nice little setup that you see here. that you see right here. You see this setup, right? Beautiful setup. You can see here, I even shared it here. Beautiful setup right here on MU. So that setup was developing, and that's when I started again, and that's when I was guiding everybody that now on MU we can go back to 85, and here is the breakout. The breakout from this 84.50 level and then push into 85, and we went to 85.53. My target was 86, and 86 was my target. The 86 target met. So I was able to recover and get green with this move. Remember, my loss was just very small here, very small loss, and this move was bigger than that loss, and I was in the shares. But anybody who used the 80 to 20 risk, 80 to 80 risk, still did better on this move, because I want to add when the bullish trend comes. So now the daily chart is very interesting on MU. I think we should get some nice, if market is bullish, nice day to move on MU tomorrow. We'll be watching closely. But here you see how we avoided the more. It's different way to trade. Anybody trades differently. I'm just showing you how I traded, how I managed it. But you see my guidance on MU was spot on. The levels were spot on. How you manage it is up to you. Stock will do what it has to do. Stock held the support levels, and you can see my guidance. I said that risk level held, can push to 85, so my guidance there was spot on. So this was Micron, guys. Very glad that it came back for us and we were able to get a win. So guys, Apple was heavy this morning. I was talking about on the voice as well that Apple is very heavy. It was, if you go to my pivot levels that I gave in the morning. So let's go to my pivot levels. If you can read that, Apple support was 195.60, right? Resistance was 196.40, 195.60. That's where Apple broke the pivot, and that's where Apple was short. And then next target was the pre-market lows, and then I did say that if pre-market lows breaks, we will be going much lower. So Apple was a bearish guidance all day, and you can see my charts here. I was showing before and after. I even tweeted about it that Apple is slowly fading towards the target, and initially it bounced, and that's why when you see the market bounce here, when the market was bouncing, this bounce, that was Apple bouncing the market, and then it faded all day. So easy short. I give my levels to you guys in the pre-market. EMA Cloud System says it's bearish. It broke my first pivot that I provided, then it broke down of this second pre-market pivot, and you fade and you hold till the 512 changes. So yeah, so these are the trades you need to execute, right? If I am not executing all of them, but you guys can, but I'm just trying to show you how many different ways of making money in the market with the defined setup. So let's look at Tesla now. Tesla was an idea by Win. So what Win did, he noticed some kind of relative strength in it, and he made a bullish bias on Tesla, right? So he noticed some relative strength and he made a bullish bias. So you see it was dipping, but then it held the strength, right? So it held the strength and it came over the EMA clouds. Let's look here. Came over the EMA clouds and it pushed, right? So he still had a bullish bias. If you look at 1059, he was, because once it dipped under 250, it reclaimed 250, and then he said he still has a bullish bias. He came there, and since he said that, the stock pushed to 254. So nice move there. Pulled back again. Remember, pulled back again. Again it held the 250 levels, right? So it again held that 250 support level, and then again bounced. And then I posted this idea, this breakout setup, which kind of gave almost a dollar push there. If you see here, the breakout setup, so that idea worked too, but it was mostly Win's call. Nice relative strength on Tesla. So let's now look at AMD, guys. So AMD, I noticed the relative strength in the morning. I said it is having a relative strength. So you see, when I talked about relative strength, it was 10:20 a.m. and there was a seller at 139. Then they cleared that seller. It held the strength all day, held the 3450 cloud and all day rally on AMD. So the reason I mentioned relative strength is because anything over the clouds is strong, it's bullish, it's that simple. Apple was not a long, Apple was a short. AMD was a long because it was over the clouds. And what were my levels? So let's look at my AMD pivot levels, right? So there's a reason I give those levels every day. AMD level was 138.20, right? So where was it? Right here, 138.20. What happened when 138.20 broke? All day push. That's why I said relative strength. That's why I said relative strength, and AMD I was on voice. So AMD was a nice winner on a relative strength trade for the traders. So that's why you keep eyes on them. So you can see my guidance, you can see my levels. So let's recap KMX. So KMX I did not personally do anything. I had a bullish bias, but again, it was too much extension. When there's a too much extension, you see there was like $5 extension from the clouds. It's a very risky setup. It's a risky setup. You know, it was actually a good C minus short and then the gap fill. And I did mention on the voice that about the gap fill. I don't know if someone traded it. I personally did not, but you can see the bear flag breakdown, and that was a nice gap fill into 77. Good warnings, so you can see too much extended. That's why you don't see me calling it a long, because I gave this warning right in the pre-market. Yeah, maybe it could have held and showed me the pre-market breakout. I could have longed it, but when I saw this red candle, it was of no use, because it's, you know, it's pulling. It will pull back to EMA. Everything pulls back to EMA. That's the golden rule. So let's look at this another play from our watch list, PAYX. PAYX was a short idea. It was a short on pops for me, and it was making lower highs, lower lows. That's what I noted. The short idea was working. It made right at the open, it dipped, you know, and then it made lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And of course, some bounce, but it never got bullish, still bearish, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. So the idea worked there, slow fade on 512, you know, all day. It never became bullish, and I think it's still heavy for tomorrow, maybe a day to another short it gives us. Because it's breaking under all the daily EMAs. But you can clearly see my plan on PAYX and then how it worked out nicely. So let's now look at FDX. So there was no long setup. So FDX was day 2. I clearly said 248 are key levels to hold, turning bullish over the clouds if it gets over 248 for the push. If fails under the cloud, no long, use those levels, right? So it failed under the clouds. What did it do? It failed under the clouds. There is no long there. It's that simple. There is no long there when you see this candle, and it was a short. Bounce, reject EMA clouds again, bounce, reject EMA cloud again, all day fade. So there was no day 2 long setup there, guys. We'll see if it does something in day 3, but it's still being selling. At least 3 days of selling before it makes a move. There is no signal of bullishness right now, so we leave it alone, guys. All right, guys. So that was it, guys. A recap today. Mostly I wanted to discuss the SPY QQQ chop management. Hopefully you guys learned a lot from this, especially if you're in this community. Make sure you watch this recap and watch it carefully. Ask me any questions. Join my community. We have a Christmas promo coming up for everyone, and don't come for alerts, come for learning, knowledge, guidance. The best community out there, all day sharing ideas and learning. Take care, guys. Bye bye.